Good morning, everybody. I'm Christine Salmi. I'm co-founder and co-president of Coalition to Cure CHD2. We're super excited to have some important guests with us here today on International Rare Disease Day. And we're excited about this partnership that we have, CCC has entered into already with RareX and now with Citizens and Invitae. And of course, our partnership, the whole purpose is to ultimately create a natural history study to show what it looks like to live with CHD2 so that it'll help those researching our disease. So let me go ahead and introduce, and of course, the purpose of our webinar today is to talk about what each program does and what they can do for us and how they differ and how what a great partnership it is to have both of them together. To help our community advance research in this disease. So first, let me introduce Vanessa Vogel-Farley. She is with RareX. You may have had an opportunity to run into her at some point in registering for the RareX platform. And then today we also have Virginia McNear, and McNeamer, I'm sorry. She even told me how to pronounce it and I still messed it up. So thank you very much. She's with Citizens Invitae, and she's going to walk us through what Citizens has to offer our community and how to get onboarded and the importance of this partnership. So I'll let you guys take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christine. Vanessa, do you want to go ahead?
Why don't you start, and then I can take up the tail end.
Okay, perfect. So I'll start presenting Ciitizen and what we do with our platform. So let me share my screen. All right, so today we have launched the CHD2 Citizen cohort, and I'm really excited about it. And thank you for having us today on Rare Disease Day. We hope that several of you are going to join. And so today I just want to explain what it's about, what do you get out of it, and how we partner with RareX to allow your data to go further than usual. So first of all, Ciitizen, it's a natural history study platform. So natural history studies are observational study. You're not signing up for a clinical trial, anything like this. We're just simply looking at your data, collecting your data, looking at it to really understand the research, and understand the disease and how it affects individual and how it changes over time. So it's really looking at the data and understanding all of this. By looking at longitudinal data, it allows us also to select endpoints. So there's going to be a point where hopefully soon there's going to be clinical trials in the pipeline for you guys. And when they're designing those trials, they're going to look at what are we measuring? How do we know the treatment is going to be helpful? And so looking at the data and really understanding the disease is going to help identify those endpoints. And it's also going to help design the trial in a way that makes sense for your community. So all of this is going to help speed up access to treatment. And the good news is traditional natural history study, if we start one now, it's going to take several years to collect a lot of data because you're going to have to go visit a clinical site every year, do a bunch of tests, and it's going to take some time to gather enough data. With Ciitizen, what we do is you'll sign up, you'll let us know where your child is being treated. So all the different hospitals, specialists, neurologists, and we'll go in and collect all the medical records. From those medical records, we'll extract all the key information and then organize it in a way that is easy for researchers to make sense of the data. So that's what we do. So I'm just going to give you an example of what we do. So this is like an extract of the clinical of a medical record. And so we have, first it goes through our AI process, and then we have at least two human annotators that are literally reading every single line of your medical records and coding it, extracting all of the key information. So this is what it looks like. This is the process. And then I'll show you when I'm done with those slides, I'll show you what it looks like for you, what you have access to, and what researchers are going to see. But we're able to collect years and years of data in a really short time. And the way Ciitizen is different. So I know you're all with RareX, and Vanessa is here. I'm really excited to have Vanessa here. So Ciitizen, we're grabbing information from the medical records. We're not asking you for any information. It's really collecting from what your doctors are saying, what specialists are saying, what images are, the imaging report and all of that. That's what we are focusing on Ciitizen. With RareX, it's your voice. It's the patient's voice. And Vanessa is going to say more about it, but those two are very important. And through our partnership, we are able to link the data. So it's all de-identified. So when we share your data with researchers, we don't give your name, your child's name, none of that is shared. You have a code assigned to your file or to all the data. It's a single code. So we have a code on Ciitizen, you have a code on RareX, and with the different consents, we're able to match those codes. So when a researcher wants to look at the CHD2 data, they'll come to Ciitizen, we'll share everything we have from the medical records, and then they'll go to RareX, they'll share everything, but they'll be able to match patients. So that way they get a full picture of what you're living through, and from the medical records and your voice. Vanessa, anything else you want to add from that?
I think that I'll go through into a little bit more depth about how to get involved, like if you're on RareX and where to make sure what you click and where to click, and make sure we can make it really facilitated in the background. So it's really easy for you. We take care of all the tech connection in the background, just like Virginia said. So I'll go into a little bit of that. You can actually see when you log on to RareX what you're going to see and what you need to do to click and everything. But we really want to facilitate. Once you say yes, once you consent, and once you say, yeah, I want to connect my data and I want everybody to know, we take care of that past that. So when you go through the informed consent process and those data sharing preferences, you're able to say, yep, I want to be part of Ciitizen. Yes, I want Ciitizen to let me know that here's how I can sign up. So.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'll show you too on the Ciitizen side where the consent, and that's what, just for background, I'm a rare disease mom. My son has SYNGAP, and I am very passionate. Before I joined Ciitizen, we were looking at many different options, and that consent piece is so critical because it does put the power in the hands of the patient and caregiver. So you really are in charge. You decide who you want to share it with. You decide what you're sharing. And obviously it's all, everything you're sharing is all secure and everything is all secured. But if you share it with the advocacy groups, then they can help you more. They can reach out to you if there's more opportunities. Sharing it with Ciitizen or RareX on both sides, same thing. It allows us to be for us to share with researchers and as many researchers as possible. Another thing that I like about both, that is important to know about both platforms, is our mission is to really break down the silos. In the past, our traditional studies, you will have one researcher or one institution that is leading the study. And so you're filling out all the forms and going to the site, getting all the medical tests and all of that, and they keep the data. And if somebody else comes in and is like, I want to do more research on CHD2, you have to do that again. With our platforms, we're sharing it with whoever needs access to it. Obviously, we don't just share it with anybody. We're just making sure there's like a good research protocol in place, and their reason is good, and there's like several agreements on this, but the data is not siloed. So with Ciitizen, we're sharing it with researchers, pharma companies, the advocacy groups, whoever needs access to that data to really understand the disease, and RareX is doing the same way. do you want to talk about that, Vanessa?
Sure. Do you want me to share my slides or do you have one more?
Yeah, I have more, but you can,
Okay.
if you
I'll
want to
hop
talk
in.
about that.
I'll hop in and go through my structure real quick, and
Yeah.
I think that'll kind of put it together. So just make sure I have the right one pulled up. Okay. All right. Presentation mode. All right. Can you see? Yep. There we go. So if you're not familiar with RareX, I'm going to give the 10-second spiel about what RareX is. We are a nonprofit created to accelerate rare disease research, treatments, and cures by removing data barriers for data collection and sharing, just like Virginia was saying. It's a platform to collect, connect, and share data. We do not own, sell, or do research with the data that we collect. And we have partnered
Vanessa?
by several technology. Yep.
You're cutting out from my end, and I don't know if others are hearing that as well, but just wanted to give you a heads up that
Okay.
it's not easy to hear.
Am I back? Or am I still cutting out?
It's a little faint, yeah.
Here, let me.
Sorry.
There you go, but much better.
Okay, perfect.
That's
Sorry
it.
about that. Sometimes it's my AirPods. I think they're getting a little bit old. So let's go back here. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. So to go back, RareX is a nonprofit created to accelerate rare disease research, treatments, and cures by removing the barriers for data collection and sharing, just like Virginia was saying. Our platform is to connect, collect, and share data. We do not own, sell, or do research with the data collected, and we're powered by several technologies. And what RareX is not is a replacement for any current research or clinician-sponsored patient registries, meaning that we really do want to facilitate that connection or the non-siloing of data by partnering with organizations and other platforms like Ciitizen in the space. So RareX and Ciitizen are better together. Participants can consent for their data in RareX and Ciitizen to be connected, and researchers will have access to the anonymized access through the combined Ciitizen and RareX data. So that exactly what Virginia was saying. So how do I do this? One, I'm going to give a massive, massive shout out to your community. This is as of last month. So there's an entire month of data after this, that CHG2 has been such a great inaugural class coming into the RareX space that we, as of again, this was on the end of January, we had 125 families. I know it's much more than that now, and that's from all over the world. And it's been great to see that CHG2 engagement in this. Of those families, everybody goes through the consent process. So one of the building blocks of all of this sharing is really important in open and understandable informed consent, meaning we give you the option to be able to say, I want my data to be shared. I know my data, I know where I'm consenting for it to go. And how do we do that? So when you log on to RareX, you're going to see one of these things. And as part of the informed consent, there is an agreement that says RareX may contact me with follow-up research studies and invitations to take part in additional studies. And I may choose to ignore that. And you can say yes here. This is an opportunity that if you're interested in something like Ciitizen or other data collection efforts in this space, this is the first place to indicate that. The second,
Vanessa,
yep,
are
We're not
you?
seeing those slides.
Yeah, your
I'm not-
slides aren't advancing, so I think we're still on the very first slide.
darn it. Okay. All right. Do you see it not in presentation mode now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
There it is.
I won't do it in presentation mode. I know that Zoom has been having an issue with that. So, okay. One massive shout out. I wanted to show this figure because I think it's awesome. It's so cool that you guys have done such a great job, and look at you, top down for sure. So that was what I was talking about, that you guys are really rocking it on the recruitment. Then this is just talking about the kind of the building blocks of data governance and the informed consent. So when you log on to RareX, you're going to see something like this as part of your informed consent. It's actually exactly like this. This is a screenshot from us. And so it says RareX may contact me with follow-up research surveys or invitations to take part in additional studies. This is a place that if we know about a clinical trial, or we know something about with Ciitizen, this is a place to let us know, yeah, you can email me about that. You can tell me about that. But again, it says I may choose to ignore it. It doesn't actually engage you anything or agree to anything, but it just lets us know you're open to that. The second follow-up one is so important, is also RareX or qualified patient organization, just like CHG2, may contact me if a researcher thinks I may be part of a clinical trial. This is another way that if you're okay with the patient community having access to your contact information, it's your name and your email address. It's really, really easy, but that you want them to know. You want them to know, you want us to send it over to them. And again, make it really easy on you. You don't have to register 2 places. We make sure that it's given to them over and over again. We constantly update those kind of the data transfers so that they are up to date on who's enrolled in RareX and also who can be contacted for enrollment in other studies. Then
Vanessa?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I
I'm
keep interrupting, but
That's okay.
I'm seeing red lines through your presentation.
Okay, how do I get those away? I'm sorry, guys. Usually I don't have this many issues with my tech.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to make sure that everybody could follow you. And I can see it pretty well, but to the extent it's distracting to others, I thought I'd mention it.
Yep, I think I'm going to remove my grids. There we go.
Ah, beautiful.
Okay,
Thank
so now you
you.
can see this. So you are all
quiet.
Oh no, no worries. Please do if I keep having issues. So what you will see this when you go through your consent process. This is a place to be able to change the to let us know what you're interested in sharing your information with. Additionally, though a consent document, historically, it is a contract, meaning it is something once you sign it, you can't edit it. However, with RareX, you're able to update it. So if when you enrolled in the CHD2 community and you put on your no, I don't want this. I don't know what this means. I'm not okay with it. If you change your mind, so say you're watching this, you're like, I'm not sure what I actually chose. You can log back on and you can say, oh, I said no, but I actually do want to say yes. You can log back on and create a new consent. It's updating your consent form. It's creating a new contract between RareX and yourself to say, I want to update my preferences, so that you're able to always kind of change that along the way. So if there's new things coming out, you hear from the community that there's another option, you can always go up and update the consent, create a new consent document. And that's what we go with. We go with the latest case scenario. So it's one of those things we want to make it really easy on you to change your preferences and be flexible about that, especially as cool things are happening in community, which there are. We want to make sure that we're there for it. The next one is additionally, it says a little bit more about who may take part. It's just this is another part of the consent document. You can read through it, but all of our consent documents, it describes exactly what the information that's being collected, what's being shared, and how it's being shared. Then the additional really cool part is the data sharing preferences agreement. This is what gets us the data that you've given in RareX to be able to connect with Ciitizen, what Virginia was talking about. You have a number in RareX, you have another number in Ciitizen. And if you go into your data sharing preferences agreements, we can start connecting those. So I just have a screenshot of that. How you want to share it. General research is the widest. I want it to go to the moon. I want it to go to whoever asks for it. That's kind of where it goes. Then you can start going, taking those data sharing preferences and maybe bringing them down a bit. If you only want it for health, medical, and biomedical research, and then it goes down even further if it's in IRB, non-commercial purposes, commercial purposes, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, the only one if you want your data to go to the moon and back, general research is the best place to go. If you want to start looking into some of these other more filtered ones, it's fantastic to look into those, but there are options that you can, again, go back and change over time. And also it really kind of informs you how your data is structured and how it moves through the system. And then the last one is also how when we were asked by CHD2, who's interested in possibly participating in Ciitizen. One of the ways that we knew this is that you would have said, I am interested in having my biomedical records or my medical records connected to my RareX data. And so we went through and took all of the consents and said, who wants to share their information, who wants to be recruited for clinical studies, and who also is interested in having their medical records connected. And so we give you these opportunities to really structure the way that your data is tagged in the system, and then also helps us to facilitate on the backside in that technical aspect to move the information as needed. And I know, because we just sent this over a couple of weeks ago, that CHD2, we sent over all the contact information for families who enrolled, who wanted to be contacted by the community. And additionally, we are already structuring this for the CHD2 community to be enrolled in Ciitizen. So we know everybody who's given the consent, who said, yes, I want my data connected, and yes, I want to give this. We're already making those moves in the background, so you don't have to do anything. So you'll get that email address, say, yep, you get that email saying, I heard you're interested in this. Here's the steps to do it. And so all of that's happening in the background. So you don't have to keep you don't have to keep on top of it. I've worked in the rare disease space for a long time. And a lot of times families have said, the biggest hurdle is nobody reminds me. And it's because you all have something like so much stuff going on. And this way we don't have to be reminding you. You don't have to constantly be checking Facebook or your messages. This kind of helps you do it yourself, or like do it for you. And so we really want to facilitate that. So I know I talk fast also, so let me know if I glossed over something too much.
No, it's actually a perfect segue to the way we have Ciitizen structured, the way we have our consent structured, and the time it takes. We are all rare disease parents, not much time, lots going on, and it's often hard to keep track of it all. And you can't participate. I mean, I'm so behind. I shouldn't even admit that. I know how data is important, and I am so behind on some of my studies. Simon's is constantly reaching out to me, like, the automatic email. Are you up to date on your research? No, I'm not. And I'm sorry. It's like, I feel bad every time. I feel like the whole guilt. And this is why I was really excited when we found Ciitizen, because it was one thing that it took me 10 minutes to sign up, and that was it. I was done. 10 minutes. And then our team does the whole work for you. We collect the records, we do all the analysis, and then we build those partnerships with RareX and other registries to link your data. So you don't have to do anything. And when you go in and consent, which I'll show you what it looks like, it's a general research consent. So we don't even give you the chance to go nitty-gritty on it. It's like, if you participate in Ciitizen, we will share your data, de-identified, with all the researchers. This is our mission. That's what we want to do. We want to send your data to the moon. So
Jenny,
yes.
do you mind if I interrupt for 1 minute? I just want to make sure that our listeners understand the difference between Ciitizen's and RareX and what data is being collected. Because I think, Virginia, you talked about Ciitizen's is gathering only the medical records and pulling data from the medical records. Vanessa, could you speak a little bit about what RareX does? I know a lot of our viewers might have already registered for RareX, but let's hope that there's some families on here that haven't yet and are planning to do so, and then they'll know why RareX is important as well as Ciitizen's.
Sounds good. So RareX is actually patient reporting data, meaning you get to report on what you're experiencing. It might be related to CHD2, it might not. You never know. So RareX actually does take a disease agnostic approach to our data collection, meaning that you're able to report on things that you may or may not know are related to your disorder. We know in rare disease over time that patient report is actually really, really invaluable, because when we structure data collections like in natural history studies and that sort of thing, the structure of the questions tends to be about what we think we know about the disorders versus what, as patients get older, as the disease changes or as symptoms become part of it, it's something you need to take a broader approach. So what RareX is doing is we're taking that like head to toe approach. You can answer questions about yourself, about things that may not be diagnosed yet. Yes, I'm experiencing migraines, but I have not been diagnosed with migraines, or I'm experiencing this, but I might not have a diagnosis yet. And you're able to say that. And so it's really towards that patient approach, meaning that you're able to report on yourself, what you're experiencing, what your child's experiencing at the time. And so it's all patient report. What ends up happening, especially in these spaces where you're going into your medical records hold so much promise. They really do. But the structure of medical records isn't designed to be research data. It's one of those really kind of crazy things. It was designed for clinical care. And I think in the rare space, we know that there's so much, really, really, really robust things in there, but you kind of need to figure out what structure you're going to put it in to make it useful. And so what RareX and how Ciitizen and RareX are going about this is we're aligning our data maps, the questions that are being answered in CHD2 or any other disorder that's coming to RareX this is kind of what we're getting. These are the hits in the symptomologies. These are the hits on the domains. So when Ciitizen is going into these medical records, they have a better, like I always say, it's like teaching a dog to hunt. It's like getting the scent of what CHD2 looks like in the medical records. Is it in the structured medical records, or when Virginia had shown the natural language processing snapshot, what are words or what are things that CHD patients are getting into their medical records in that summary, so they can use their technology to really pull it from that medical record. So that's how we're different and so complementary, because we know in a lot of the rare spaces that some data is missing. Like you only see your physician every 6 months or 9 months or every year or whatever it is. And during that year, you had probably a lot of other interactions, whether it be your pediatrician or maybe you went to the ER or something like that, where you're able to report on it yourself. The additional piece is we know in some of these cases that if you have a genetic report on file, or you did go to the ER, or you had that if you report it on your patient reported, Ciitizen can use it to say, okay, we know this exists somewhere for this patient. How do we find it in the medical record? So it's really that kind of give and take where you want a complementary approach in the rare disease space to be able to get the most robust data, patient data globe around each patient. So that's how we're different.
And to add to that, it's like the last point on my slide is that hospitals are required to keep medical records for 10 years. So what if your child is older, in the 20s? We might, at Ciitizen, we do our best, and we usually really successful because we have an amazing team. We call them the Sherpa team, and they're awesome at going out and collecting records, and they usually don't stop until they have enough. But sometimes it's just, the law is like, you only keep it for 10 years. So after that, hospitals have the right to just get rid of it. And so that's where, you can insert those questions in RareX, because we might have gaps in the medical records that you can complement with RareX. And now I'll show you, let me go through this quickly, but it's actually, let me just get out of there. And show you kind of what we mean, because right now we're talking a lot about data and all of this, and it's very abstract. So what I'm showing you right now is one patient, my son, information that has been extracted from Ciitizen. And I will show you at the bottom, these are all the different categories. If you look at my spreadsheet, these are all the different categories that we're collecting. And I'll go through some of them. This is what we give. This is like the pretty package that we're sending to researchers and pharma companies. They don't go through all the medical records. Some of you have thousands of pages. They don't need that. They want the key information that is extracted. And so we're going through, and then we created some categories, what we call entities. And in each entity, we grab what we need from it. So demographic information, genetic information from the genetic report. Again, with a partnership with RareX is so important because ironically, it can be really hard to find the genetic report. Many families don't have a genetic report. If you are listening and you do not have your genetic report in hand, please call your doctor. If you sign up on Ciitizen, we will find it because we need it it's like the key document to participate for research, but get your hands on it. It is so important. It has so much information on it, and this is your right to have it. So please get it. Primary diagnosis, clinical diagnosis. So this is where we start getting quite a bit of information. My son is 6-year-old. This is all they were finding, the dates that were started, all of it from the medical records. When we export that data, right now there's just one patient. You can sign up 50, 70, 100 patients on the platform. That's where it becomes powerful. And so, there's also something I always tell communities. It sends really strong signals to pharma company. Eventually, you want to attract pharma interest. They're the ones who are going to manufacture the treatments. That's the bottom line. And they're going to go after, they have a list of disease. They're like, our technology can target those diseases. They're going to go after the ones that are organized and have the data. And you have an incredible foundation right now. They're taking all the right steps. They're on RareX for the patient reported. They're getting on Ciitizen. And the more patients we can sign up, the better, because then we get a really full picture of the disease. You can't just look at my son and say, oh, this is SYNGAP. No, it's not. It's like we need 100 patients, 150 patients to really understand it. So I know we sound like a broken record, but please sign up to both. It is so important. It doesn't take long. and it's so impactful. So this is the type of the clinical diagnosis, gross parameters. So we're tracking everything, everything that they got over the years through medical records, exam finding. I always love that one. It's fascinating. He's only 6 and look at all this. So imagine you multiply that by 100 kids, how much information you get. And then we can compare with what you put in RareX. And so it just gives more validation to what we're finding. Seizure history. This is where it's a perfect example where patient-reported outcome is so much, it's important. I don't contact my doctor every time my son has a seizure. That's just the bottom line. He's had more than 2 seizures in his life, let's face it. So that's where seizure tracker and then just answering all of those seizures information is so important. The different diagnostic procedures. I'm not going to go over all of this, but that gives you an idea of the rich information that we're getting from the data set. Again, to get all of this, it took me 10 minutes. I signed up for 10 minutes and that was it. Then I didn't touch anything. The Ciitizen team did everything. Medication, side effect, that's also quite important.
Medications, it's really interesting how different parent-reported medications are and adherence and side effects and that sort of thing versus what you're seeing in medical records. These are just really, really, we have so many places that we're like, this needs to be connected so well. And medications is another one. Seizures and medications are big time in this.
Yes. I mean, my son, like I always titrate much slower than the prescribed dose. So what's prescribed usually doesn't reflect where he's at in a dosage. And same thing, the side effect, every time we increased a little bit, he's going to have diarrhea. It's not reported. He has no side effect because it's not a big deal to the doctors. But that's something you can note at a patient reported outcome. So everything that I'm showing you right now, that's what we share with researchers. If you notice, every time it's not my son's name, it's his unique identifiers. And so you'll get a very similar data set from RareX with a unique identifiers that we can match. On the patient side, at Ciitizen, what you get is we give you access to your medical records. They are yours. They're not ours. They're yours. And so this is my son's Ciitizen portal with his imaging and all his medical records. If I click on any of those documents, there are hundreds of pages in there. I've read it because I'm crazy and I was just very interested in what doctors were saying, and I've learned so much. It's very different than what you get on your regular patient portal from the hospital, everything. They give you like a quick summary. This is the clinician notes. It's a lot. There's more meat to it. There's a lot more to it. So you have access to that. You can share it with whoever you want. So you can share it with other providers, with if there are researchers that are doing a study. I've done that. There's a study in Baltimore. I'm like, here's all my stuff. I don't need to answer this question. Here it is. You have the full package. A lot of families are saying they've used it for getting a second opinion of just going back and like having a genetic report. This is my genetic report, and I can share it with a lot of places now easily. And again, remember, hospitals only keep those records for 10 years. So now you have access to that, which is helpful if you move, whatever. Anyone should have their medical records anyway. So that's a whole different story. Once we do the extraction, so you saw what we're sharing with the researchers, this is what you're getting as a family, and it's a health summary. So it's everything that we found. We're sharing it back to you with a timeline. And I have so many stories that I can share on things. Like people have found that there's one example, doctors wrote G-tube on a kiddo. The kid never had a G-tube. And so they're able to say, wait a minute, that's wrong. And that's an important detail. Like you don't want that to stay with that medical record if it's not okay. And now you have a way to quickly check it without reading all the pages. I personally, last year, I was trying to get my son on autism diagnosis, reach out to the doctors. No, it was a pain. He was diagnosed in 2018. Like, it's the kind of thing that it really empowers you. You have all the information about your child's health. It's right there. And it helps when you have surveys to fill out. It helps you also kind of go back. I often forget dates. So this helps me go back to the specific date and be like, okay, this is when he got this diagnosis. This is when that happened. So the big event, it helps you get that timeline. All right. So it's a lot of information, I guess, for everyone. But the last thing that I wanted to share is how to sign up on Ciitizen. So by now, most of you should have signed up on RareX. If you haven't, go ahead. And remember, RareX surveys, you're going to answer, it's your voice. Ciitizen, we're going to go out and we're going to need a picture ID from you. We're also going to ask for your child's birth certificate or guardianship paper so that we can collect medical records on your behalf. So we need that information. There's no survey on Ciitizen. We just need that information. And then the consent pages as well. So wrong page. There it is. This is the landing page to sign up on Ciitizen. And so it's citizen.com/CHD2. And I know Lauren and Christine are going to send the link to everyone, and it's posted everywhere. But this is what your page looks like. Beautiful little girl. And then you just click on join today. And then you will have, I'm not going to go through the whole process, but this is like the first consent. And that's to be part of the research data bank. And again, also, it takes 10 minutes all around to sign up. It's really quick. And then we're able to link all the data. So everything that you do is not siloed. It's all linked, and it will have a big impact on research.
That's super fantastic, Virginia. I myself, my daughter is 19 and we're transitioning to an adult neurologist, and having to convert and gather everything is just a nightmare. I keep procrastinating, and now I'm realizing that I'm going to have it all at my fingertips because I've already registered for Ciitizens, and it's going to be a click, 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 and I send it off to their office, and that is hugely valuable. So in addition to everything else you've said, so really awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Vanessa, is there anything else that you wanted to add from the RareX perspective?
I think that you should be getting the email from the CHD2 because anybody who said they were interested in this, like I said, we're trying to make it as easy as possible. So I think that if anything you heard today, if you're interested, if you have questions, please reach out to either of us. We really are happy to answer them, and really want to, the proof is in the pudding with all of this. We both operate on very transparent terms. If we want to meet what your community needs in this space. And so if we're not meeting that, if you have feedback, let us know. If you have questions about some things you're seeing in the consent, or what can and cannot be done, we're happy to do that for you, answer those too. But please, if you're interested, sign up. It's really, really easy for both sides. And again, we try to keep it as easy as possible for you because I think that this is really going to be the key for your community to really drive things forward in terms of research and also compound development.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was going to ask if there were any questions. I know we have a limited live audience today, but I suspect we're going to have huge viewings from our families at their convenience. And one of the questions, I have a question myself. I thought I would just, while I've got you guys here, we talked about how your programs are going to help advance research and ultimately go into the hands of researchers. To both of you, Ciitizens and RareX, have you guys collaborated with researchers to know from their perspective what particular information they're looking for and what's valuable to them? Has that been something that both these organizations have taken the time to do?
Yes.
I'll let you go first.
Yes. If you look at the different entities that we carefully selected, it's carefully selected. We looked at neurological rare diseases and what are the key information that we need. this is how we extract. It's not everything, because it's we don't know what we don't know, but it really helps us categorize the main main area of interest. And we've already shared the data with several researchers, and so far, I wish we could quote them on it, but they're not ready yet. Later this year, there's going to be some good publication and exciting news, but they've really said it's been the richest set of data they've seen in a short time. So that's very exciting.
That's awesome.
From the RareX side, I think that the researchers and biopharma that we've reached out to, which is a lot too, we wanted to do our due diligence to make sure that we met the needs of all the stakeholders involved. One, I think both the data structure was really important to them, meaning that we're coding in standards as much as we possibly can. We know that in rare disease, sometimes standards don't work, square peg round hole sort of thing. But where we can, we're making sure that we're using the codes like the human phenotype ontology codes, or the HL7 code, which is the medical record kind of coding. So when the data is put into a place that they can search it, they're searching terms that they understand and they would find useful. The additional piece is, honestly, a lot of the researchers and a lot of the biopharma, it's just, where are you? Literally, yeah. Hey, I live here. I have a CHD2 diagnosis and I live here. I mean, it's really that, and this is how old I am. It's really one of those things that at the end of the day, it seems like, the low hanging fruit, but it's really that case that they want to be able to find a place that they can get a number, they know where they are, what's the community size, and that's really what it is. And so then from there, it's really structuring it in a way that's beneficial to the communities as well, because you guys need the buy-in, you need your questions answered too, and it can't be too onerous for the families who are enrolling. So that's really, we kind of took it all together. What are the stakeholders that are involved and who is interested to use the data, and making sure we're meeting all of those along the way.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Yeah, and that where are you and how many do you have is the question we constantly get. When we get approached by pharma, how many do you have in this disease? How many do you have in this disease? It's not, I think they know, working with us, they know about RareX, they know about Ciitizen, like the kind of data they're going to get. It's really down to how many. And that's why it's really hard to, it's so important for families to understand that, yes, it takes time, but it's sending a signal that your community is ready. Because if there's a treatment, if there's a clinical trial and they can't find patients, there's no interest. They're not gonna be interested. They're gonna go to the next community that, where everyone is on the registry, people are raising their hands. We're ready. We want to participate. And that's I think the main thing, really.
And outside of like the fact that we're all in the rare disease space, so we all know the dreaded ICD-10 code or the ICD-11 code that none of us happen to have. And that's usually what they use to find them. Now you do. Congratulations. I'm sorry. You're cooler than us. But it's one of those things that's usually what they would use. And in the absence of that, these facilitated places to identify patients or numbers is really important. So
yeah. But even with the ICD-10 code, it takes time to give it. To get anything from it.
Adoption.
It's going to take a while. Yeah.
Well, I love the message that you've given today, both of you. I think it's going to make a huge impact on our community, and we look forward to working with both of you. Lauren and I will certainly be sure to send out the links for getting onboarding with Ciitizen, VTA, as well as RareX. And I believe we'll also be providing an email address of somebody with both organizations where folks can reach out if they're having problems. They can reach out and ask questions. But thank you again today. Brian, you're only our person here today. Do you have any questions before we log off?
I don't. I thought it was a great presentation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're super excited to work with both of you and just can't wait to see where we can take this. Thank you very much.